Welcome to our deep dive, into people planning.
Okay.
Today we're going to be looking at how organizations are using data to make these big, important decisions about their people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about, the listener wants to understand how data is being used to attract and keep top talent,
Right.
but also why people choose to leave a company.
Right.
And for this deep dive, we have a really cool set of sources.
Yeah.
YouTube videos, transcripts, even a super detailed PDF.
It's amazing all the different ways we can learn about this.
I know.
It's crazy how data's completely changed how companies think about their workforce. It's like we've moved past just, gut feelings and hunches to where we're basing decisions on facts and numbers.
Like a secret weapon.
Right.
But before we get into all that, let's just get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
One thing that really stood out to me was this whole idea of data mining in HR.
Uh-huh.
What exactly does that even mean?
So you're kind of sifting through this huge mountain of data, looking for those little golden nuggets that can help an organization. Okay. That's basically what data mining in HR is.
Uh-huh.
The PDF People Planning explains that it's all about exploring these massive databases to find hidden connections between talent stuff and key business outcomes.
Okay.
We're talking about things like employee performance, how long they stay with a company, and even how these things impact a company's efficiency and profits.
So it's not just collecting data for the sake of it.
No, not at all.
It's about finding those aha moments where the data tells you something really insightful, something that can help a company make better decisions about their people.
Exactly.
I like that.
But here's where things get tricky.
Yeah.
The PDF points out some serious challenges with data mining in HR.
Okay.
For example, privacy and security.
Mm-hmm.
When you're digging deep into employee data, you could end up finding out way more personal stuff than you intended.
That's a good point.
Imagine you're looking up how long someone's been with the company just to see their tenure, right?
Yeah.
But then you accidentally see their home address and age. That's way too much information.
Yeah.
And it puts their privacy at risk.
That makes you realize that data mining isn't as simple as it sounds.
It's definitely not.
There are ethical issues and potential risks.
For sure.
It's not just about privacy though, right?
Yeah.
The quality of the data itself could be a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
What if the data is messed up or incomplete?
Yeah, that can totally mess up your analysis.
Right.
Think about typos, missing information, or even just inconsistent date formats.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a date like 1/27/11, is that July 12th, 2011 or December 7th, 2011?
Oh, I see what you mean.
It can get confusing.
Yeah.
And if you're basing important decisions on that kind of data, you could be making the wrong choices.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Exactly.
So how do companies even begin to deal with messy or incomplete data?
Well, that's where data transformation comes in.
Yeah.
It's basically cleaning things up, standardizing, and making sure data from different places is accurate, consistent, and ready to be analyzed.
Yeah.
Think about it. HR departments get data from so many different systems.
Yeah.
You might have employee info in SAP, performance reviews in Bamboo HR,
Yeah.
and recruitment data from Indeed.
For those who might not know,
Yeah.
SAP and Bamboo HR are software systems that companies use for HR stuff,
Right.
like payroll benefits, performance tracking, talent management, all that.
It's a lot to keep track of.
I know.
And then trying to combine all that data is like putting together puzzle pieces from different boxes.
I can see that.
Data transformation is like making all those pieces fit together so you can see the whole picture.
Makes sense.
And you need the right tools and people to do it right.
So you're not just dumping data from all these places into a spreadsheet.
No way.
You need some serious know-how to get that data ready for analysis.
Definitely.
The PDF gives a good example.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about this data analyst, Jeremier.
Okay.
He switched companies and had to learn a whole new set of tools. He went from using Microsoft Excel and SQL, which are pretty common in the data world,
Yeah.
to working with MongoDB and Google Sheets.
Interesting.
Each tool has its own quirks and learning curve.
That's true.
So you really need someone who understands the data, but also knows how to manipulate it and find those insights using the right tools.
Absolutely.
It's a specialized skill set.
You could say that.
And it shows how important it is to keep learning in this field.
Totally agree.
Technology changes, so fast data analysts have to stay ahead of the game.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've got the raw data, we've cleaned it up, and now we're ready to analyze.
Right.
But it's not enough to just have insights, is it?
Nope.
You have to be able to share those insights with others
Yeah.
in a way that's clear, compelling, and actionable.
You got it.
That's where data visualization comes in.
It's like turning data into art.
Ooh, I like that.
You're taking these complex numbers and patterns and making them visual so they're easy to understand and they have an impact.
I'm a very visual learner, so I get it.
Me too.
A well-designed chart or graph can tell you so much at a glance.
It's true.
Like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Exactly.
But creating good data visualizations isn't easy, is it?
Not really.
What makes it so tricky?
You have to think about your audience,
Okay.
their level of data literacy, and the message you're trying to get across.
Right.
The people planning document really emphasizes tailoring visualizations to different stakeholders.
I see.
Like someone in finance might want to see the data presented differently than someone in marketing.
Oh, that makes sense.
They gave an example of Samantha, a data analyst who's been with her company for a while.
Okay.
She really gets the needs of different departments.
Got
So she
it.
can create visualizations that speak directly to their concerns and priorities.
That's really smart.
It's all about making it relevant.
Yeah,
The prettiest chart in the world is useless if nobody understands it.
that's a good point.
A good data analyst can bridge that gap,
Yeah.
make the data meaningful.
Speaking of tools, I'm really excited to see how these YouTube videos we have show data visualization in action.
Oh, yeah, those are cool.
I've heard so much about Power BI,
It's a great tool.
but I haven't really gotten to play around with it yet.
Well, the video People Planning in Power BI is a perfect example of how it works.
Awesome.
They walk you through the whole process,
Right.
selecting data, customizing graphs, focusing on key metrics.
Uh-huh.
They look at things like attrition rates, monthly income years at the company, and even how those things differ between genders.
You get to see how those choices shape the visualizations.
It's really insightful.
That's great.
And then there's another video data mining activity that focuses specifically on attrition.
Right.
They're using Power BI to explore the things that lead to employee turnover,
Huh.
looking at variables like years at the company, years in their current role, years since their last promotion, and years with their current manager.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle. By looking at all these different pieces, you can start to understand why some people stay and others leave.
And that's super valuable information for any company that wants to keep their best employees.
Yeah, if you can figure out what's driving people away, you can start fixing it.
Exactly. Turn data into action.
This brings up something interesting from the people planning. Document the impact of social norms on data collection.
Oh, yeah. How things have changed.
30 years ago, it was all about manual forms and surveys.
Right?
Now, companies like Google are constantly gathering data on our online behavior, our preferences, what we buy.
It's true.
They say their mission is to organize and make information accessible. But this shift in how we collect data raises some big questions about privacy and ethics.
It definitely does.
It's like we're always creating data without even realizing it.
Yeah,
And as data becomes more available, companies have to use it responsibly and ethically.
I agree 100%.
Data is powerful,
Yep.
but it's up to us to make sure it's used for good.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we've talked about data mining, data quality, data transformation, and visualization.
A lot of data.
But before we move on, I want to make sure we're clear on two terms that get thrown around a lot: segmentation and clustering.
Yeah, those can be confusing.
They sound similar, but there's a key difference, right?
You got it.
So what's the difference?
Think of segmentation like sorting your laundry.
Okay,
You group things based on stuff you already know, like colors or fabric types.
gotcha.
It's about dividing data into categories that already exist.
So like if you're a clothing store, you might segment your customers by gender, age, or location.
Exactly.
You're using what you already know to group your data.
Right.
But clustering is different, right?
Yep.
How so?
Clustering is more like using a metal detector.
Okay.
You don't know what's buried underground,
Right.
but you're searching for patterns and groups that emerge from the data itself.
Interesting.
You're creating new categories based on what you discover.
The people planning document had a great example with clinics.
Oh.
Let's say you're looking at how successful different clinics are.
Mm.
You could segment them by location, assuming that's a big factor in their success.
That makes sense.
But what if clustering shows that the province is actually more important?
Interesting.
You might end up grouping the clinics by province instead of just location,
I see.
because the data tells you that's a more meaningful distinction.
It's like challenging what you think you know
Right.
and letting the data lead you to new insights.
Exactly.
That's the real power of data analysis.
It can help you see things you might have missed otherwise.
For sure.
So we've gone from raw data to these insightful clusters.
Yep.
But how do we actually use these insights to make a difference?
That's the key question.
This is where targeting and positioning come in, right?
You got it.
So what do those terms mean?
Targeting is like focusing your camera lens.
Okay.
Once you've found those clusters, you choose a specific one to investigate further.
You're narrowing your focus to get a clearer picture,
Precisely.
going back to the clinics.
Yeah.
Let's say clustering showed that clinics in Alberta are doing way better than clinics in other provinces.
Interesting.
So instead of looking at all clinics across the country,
Right.
you zero in on Alberta because that's where the most interesting stuff seems to be happening.
And once you've targeted your analysis, positioning is about telling a compelling story with those insights.
Okay, so you're using the data to make an argument that influences decisions.
Exactly.
And ultimately, that's the goal of people planning, isn't it?
Yeah,
Using data to make smart decisions that help both the organization and its employees.
I agree.
All right, so we've laid some groundwork here.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the data itself and the challenges of working with it.
Right.
We've also touched on segmentation and clustering
Those are key concepts.
and how they can help us find hidden patterns and insights.
It's like detective work.
But what's the end goal of all this? That's where we'll pick up in part 2,
Sounds good to me.
exploring the strategic side of people planning and how it all connects to achieving those big picture goals.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive on people planning.
We've covered a lot of ground.
I know, right?
All that technical stuff, the tools, the challenges, even the ethical considerations with employee data.
It's a lot.
It is.
But now I'm wondering, how do we actually put all this data analysis into practice?
Uh-huh.
How does people planning connect to the big picture, the strategic goals of a company?
That's a great question.
It can't just be about collecting data for no reason, right?
No, definitely not.
There has to be a purpose.
The people planning PDF really stresses that it says that people planning can't just be done in a vacuum.
Interesting.
It has to be part of the company's overall strategy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're not aligned with the company's goals, you're not really getting anywhere.
So how do you make sure that people planning is working with those broader objectives?
Well, first you have to understand those objectives.
Right.
What are the company's top priorities?
Are they trying to increase market share, expand into new regions, develop new products?
Exactly.
Once you know where the company's headed,
Yeah.
then you can start thinking about how people planning can help them get there.
It's all about alignment.
So, for example, let's say a company wants to expand internationally.
Okay.
What role would people planning play in that?
That's a perfect example.
What would they do?
Well, people planning would involve figuring out what kind of talent they need to make that expansion successful.
I see.
Do they need to hire people with specific language skills, cultural expertise?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they need to train their current employees to get them ready for new roles in those international markets.
So people planning becomes like a roadmap,
Yeah,
guiding the company by making sure they have the right people on board?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
about anticipating future talent needs, assessing what you have, and then closing that gap
How do you do that?
through strategic hiring, through targeted training programs, leadership development, and even succession planning.
To make sure those leadership roles are filled smoothly. Speaking of succession planning, that's an area where data can be really helpful, right?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Data can help you identify those high potential employees who are ready to step into leadership positions down the line by looking at performance reviews,
Okay.
tracking their development, and even considering their career goals.
Right.
You can start preparing future leaders before those roles even open up.
It's like playing chess,
Kind of.
thinking several moves ahead.
To ensure the company's success in the long run.
But all this sounds great in theory.
Yeah.
Are there any companies that are actually doing this well?
Oh, tons of them.
Really?
There are companies known for their innovative and data-driven approaches to people planning.
Like who?
Google's a great example.
They're famous for their data-centric culture
They are.
and their commitment to using data to inform everything they do with talent.
It's impressive.
I can see why.
With all the data they have and their expertise in analytics, they're in a perfect position to spot trends, identify top performers, and create development programs that meet specific needs.
Sounds like a great place to work.
They're also known for creating a culture that values employee well-being and continuous learning.
Oh yeah, they're famous for that.
They offer amazing perks and benefits and invest heavily in employee development.
Makes sense.
It helps them attract and retain the best people.
Another company with a unique approach to people planning is Netflix.
Oh, yeah, Netflix is interesting.
I've read about their freedom and responsibility philosophy.
They really empower their employees.
What does that mean?
They hire really talented people and then give them a lot of freedom and flexibility.
Wow.
They believe that to get and keep the best, you have to trust them.
Right.
Give them ownership and let them make decisions.
I've also heard about their keeper test, which sounds pretty intense.
It is pretty radical.
What is it?
It's basically a thought experiment. Managers imagine that one of their team members is about to quit.
Mm.
If their gut reaction is, I have to do whatever it takes to keep them,
Yeah.
then that person is a keeper.
Interesting.
But if the manager's response is more like, yeah, it might mean that even if the employee is doing their job okay,
Right.
they're not really essential.
So it's not just about meeting the minimum requirements.
No.
It's about finding those exceptional people who go above and beyond.
The ones who really contribute to the company's success.
And those qualities are hard to capture with data alone, aren't they?
They really are.
It takes a mix of data insights and human judgment, intuition, and experience.
You can't just rely on numbers.
You have to understand people, too.
Exactly.
This has been really
I'm
eye-opening.
glad you think so.
We've gone from understanding data analysis to seeing how people planning connects to a company's strategic goals.
And we've seen how companies like Google and Netflix are doing some really cool things with people planning.
Using data to make work better and more engaging.
But we're not done yet.
There's more.
In part 3, we'll dive into the future of people planning.
Okay.
We'll explore emerging trends and the skills HR professionals need to stay ahead in this rapidly changing field.
Welcome back to our deep dive on people planning. Feels like we've come a long way.
We have, from like the nitty-gritty of data analysis to how it connects with a company's big goals.
We even got to see how companies like Google and Netflix are using data in really cool ways.
To create workplaces that are both effective and fun.
But things change so fast.
They do.
I'm curious what the future holds for people planning.
Yeah.
What new trends are going to shake things up?
One of the biggest trends is AI and machine learning in HR.
Okay.
These technologies are changing like everything about how companies manage their people.
Whoa, AI in HR. That sounds pretty futuristic to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Can you give me like a real-world example?
Sure, imagine you're trying to fill a tech job
Okay.
and you've got hundreds of resumes.
Ugh, yeah, that's a lot.
Instead of reading each one, an AI system can scan them in seconds,
Wow.
looking for keywords, skills, and experience.
That would save so much time.
It can even find candidates who might not be an obvious fit at first glance,
Really?
but their skills actually match the job.
So it's like a super recruiter.
Exactly. And AI can do more than just match keywords.
Okay.
It can learn from past hiring decisions and predict which candidates are most likely to be successful.
That's incredible.
It helps companies hire better people faster and cheaper.
Plus, it sounds like AI could help eliminate some of the bias we see in hiring.
That's a major plus.
Instead of focusing on things like demographics, AI looks at skills and experience, creating a more level playing field for everyone.
Right.
It's amazing how AI is changing recruiting.
It's just the beginning.
Are there other areas of HR where it's having a big impact?
Definitely.
Like what?
AI can personalize learning and development programs.
How does that work?
Imagine a system that tracks your skills, interests, and career goals, and then suggests courses or connects you with mentors who can help you grow.
That would be amazing.
It's like having your own personal career coach.
Wow, AI can do all that.
It can also help identify employees who might be thinking about quitting
Wow.
by analyzing things like performance reviews, engagement surveys, even email patterns.
Really? Email too?
Yep.
So it's like an early warning system.
Exactly.
It alerts companies to potential problems before they get out of hand.
Giving them a chance to step in and maybe prevent good employees from leaving.
AI is giving HR professionals so many new tools.
I know, it's exciting.
But with all this technology, I can't help but wonder,
What's that?
will AI replace HR professionals altogether?
That's the million-dollar question, and the answer is no.
Really?
AI can automate some tasks and provide insights, but it can't replace those human skills that are crucial for good people planning.
So what skills do HR professionals need to succeed in this text-driven world?
Well, they need to be data literate for sure.
What does that mean exactly?
They need to know how to understand data,
Okay.
spot trends, and draw conclusions.
And not just about crunching numbers though, right?
Nope. They also need strong business acumen.
Okay.
They need to understand the company's goals and how people planning can support them.
So they have to see the big picture.
And most importantly, they need to be great communicators and collaborators.
I see.
They have to explain complex data to people who aren't data experts, build relationships with people across the organization,
Right.
and advocate for policies that are good for both employees and the company.
It sounds like a tough job,
It can be.
but also super rewarding.
It's about using data and human understanding to create a workplace where people can thrive.
I love that. That's a perfect way to put it.
Thanks.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so. The
Brilliant.
world of work is changing so quickly.
And the people who embrace data cultivate those human skills and never stop learning.
They'll be the ones shaping the future of this field.
This has been an incredible deep dive into people planning. Thanks for joining us. And until next time.